Hello everybody, it's Retro Martin and welcome to the latest in the line of Sega on GameCube videos, where I pick a selection of games on the GameCube, made by Sega, amusingly enough, and talk to you about them so you're aware of what's about and whether it's worth a punt or not. We're 18 down so far, so here's the next 6. The third home console title in the Super Monkey Ball series opted not to use a number and instead called itself Super Monkey Ball Adventure. And what an adventure I had with it. Getting lost, but more on that later. This game came out for the PS2 and PSP before finally dropping on the GameCube the next month. It was developed by Traveller's Tales instead of one of Sega's divisions, and it also released in Europe first before jumping over to America and Australia. Curiously, it did not get a Japanese release. Our 4 intrepid monkey heroes, Ai, Mimi, Baby and Gongon, are relaxing when, oh no, bad things happen, with 2 opposing royal families at loggerheads until they realise their true love for each other and stop the bad things happening. Yep, it's Romeo and Juliet, monkey styley, though with significantly less Shakespeareisms and poisoning.
Ready? Go!
What this means for our plucky band of simians is more rolling around, albeit this time not in a simple puzzle platformer stage adventure. No, this time we're looking at a multi-stage open adventure with you performing side quests, avoiding obstacles and working your way to the next section. Basically a much grander adventure. The side quests take on the role of finding things, deliveries, that sort of thing. However, despair not, Monkey Ball fans. There are some challenge stages, which take on the guise of the standard Monkey Ball zany action. You can then play these puzzle stages outside of the main game as well. In addition to this, there is the usual party mode with 6 mini-games on offer and 20 odd characters, so if the adventure mode isn't your thing, you can still have at it. However, there are features that can only be unlocked via playing in adventure mode, so you can't just avoid it entirely.
Ball out! Ready? Go! Ball out! Ready? Go!
The game itself, I'll be honest, has a lot of charm, but it's just not as fun as you'd expect. The movement works well in a puzzle platformer environment, but in open stages with houses and boulders and all sorts getting in the way, it just becomes cumbersome. It's also incredibly easy to get lost, with a very early part of the first world being very annoying in working out, as it appears you can't get past an obstacle. But you can. You just need to stand there and wait. But very unintuitively put forth to the player. I went in expecting much more fun than it gave me, and if it wasn't for the challenge stages and party mode, I would certainly not consider this worthy of your time unless you absolutely love Monkey Ball. Still, something a little bit different in the series, eh? Developer Ancient are well known as being the dev studio created by famed composer Yuzo Koshiro, well known for creating hits like Sonic the Hedgehog for 8-bit hardware, Streets of Rage 2, The Story of Thor, and in 2004, alongside Hitmaker, have created Amazing Island for the GameCube. As you can see, it's a very colourful, vibrant game, and with its cutesy kid protagonists, you'd be forgiven for assuming what kind of game this is. Indeed, after a simple ping-pong match with a fireball and a volcano, you're introduced to said amazing island and some of its inhabitants, and an issue surrounding the Black Evil. Yep, that's the name they went with. You head off to the Hall of Life to bring a monster to life. Ooh, a Pokemon rip-off, you say? You gallivant off with your monster into a portal to go fight off the Black Evil, and then you pit your monster against another monster and race. Yes, your first proper fight is a race, as this game is absolutely not a Pokemon rip-off. Nope, what you're looking at is basically monster-related track and field, as you compete in several events such as shoot the hoop, triple jump, spinning arena battling, racing, ocean skimming, and many more. Yeah, you heard me right. You have to beat a score threshold on each event and compete a few in turn before you move on to fight one of the Black Evil minions in the same fireball ping pong you tried at the start of the game to unlock another section of the island. Failure will eject you back to the main hub to start again. Of course, this is marketed at younger players, so there are items on hand to boost your stamina among other things to make the events easier, but in true track and field fashion, they really aren't easy, and button mashing takes up an awful lot of your time, so I hope you have some spare controllers. The other part of the game is the monster creation. This is very odd, with you picking a frame, head, arms, etc., then drawing around them to create a full monster. You then deck it out with accessories like beaks and claws, give it a name, and take a photo. Yeah, with an F instead of a PH, because why the heck not? Doing well in events can earn you items and stuff for your monsters, and completing each section of events can earn you a new frame among other things. The monsters, however, look pretty silly, though kids will love drawing them out and making them look stupider still. I can see what they were trying, but it's just a bit pointless really. All in all, Amazing Island is a game that has some very interesting ideas and subverts your expectations quite quickly, but isn't executed amazingly well. It's not a terrible game, just not a particularly good one either. With Koshiro himself and Motohiro Kawashima on composing duties, the music is strangely nothing glorious either. A rare misstep from Koshiro and Ancient, but a nice curio for the GameCube. Oddly, it didn't receive a PAL release either. Heading a year forward, we have another game in the Sonic franchise. Not many of those left to cover on the GameCube. Shadow the Hedgehog was born from riding the wave of popularity in the eponymous character following Sonic Adventure 2. The game was a multi-platform release, coming out on GameCube, PlayStation 2 and Xbox.
Promise time, huh? Well then, time to go and fulfill this promise.
We need assistance!
Hey, Shadow. Long time no see. Looks like these black creatures really mean business. Let's do a lead show them. Nice going, Shadow. That's the ticket.
When the game was revealed and released, much was made of its depiction of Shadow wielding firearms and the more mature look and feel compared to the others in its father franchise. Certainly the game does take a darker tone as we explore Shadow's origin, and yes, there are weapons in the game, which are optional, but they can make the game a bit easier at times. However, the game still isn't overly violent.
We're up to. Remember this place. After time.
Hey, Shadow! You saw him too, didn't you? Those black creatures floating around here? Time to clean house and do a little exterminating.
Commencing attack plan A.
Those gun soldiers are done for if we don't give them a hand.
So what we have is a 3D platformer with you controlling Shadow through several levels, fulfilling specific goals to end that level. You can zip back to checkpoints to help fulfill these objectives, but this is one of the game's strengths. Each level has 3 objectives, with them labelled as Hero, Dark and Normal. Completing a specific one, as only one can be done per level per playthrough, will move you onto another stage. The stages comprise a cross pattern with you moving around them depending on which missions you complete, allowing for very different playthroughs each time, and at the end of the last stage on the different branches is a different end boss, and reveals a bit more of the story. In true modern Sonic style, completing every single one and unlocking the entire stage board will allow you to do a final stage with the ultimate conclusion to the storyline. This branching pathways and different missions to complete give the game a lot of replayability and sets it apart from its peers to a point that it makes the game much better than it reviewed.
The doctor must have gone this way.
Oh, Shadow, I'm so glad you're here. Cream went into this weird-looking castle and she hasn't come back out. Will you go in there with me to look for her?
There's multiplayer as well, set on a split-screen mode with 2 players fighting each other on one of a few courses. You can also have a second player take control of the guest character in each stage on single player, with the entirety of Modern Sonic's cast, at the time, available. Oddly, the Xbox version of the game doesn't allow this. How bizarre.
Hey, you think you might be able to grind on that?
Damn it.
Hey, this stone lantern looks like it's for lighting fire. Shadow, you have something to start fire with?
Hey, Shadow! The black creatures have infiltrated my castle. I'd like you to go and light those giant lanterns. They're part of my...
Shadow the Hedgehog may seem like a shallow cash-in on the character on the surface, but when you get down to the game itself, outside of the usual glitches and camera problems that 3D platformers of the day had, it's actually a quite deep game with plenty to do and will keep you playing for quite some time. Definitely worth having on your shelf.
Lights up! Lights up! Lights up! Lights up! You haven't seen the last of me!
Sorry, Doctor, but that Chaos Emerald is mine.
Ah, Bleach. Type Cubo's big manga and anime franchise made up a lot of my university days as me and my friend Andy used to get the latest translated episode a few days after its Japanese release. I utterly loved the characters and world, and since then it has expanded with lots of games, a new anime series to finish off where it cut off partway through, and even a spin-off in Burn the Witch, which is also awesome. Back to Bleach itself though, this famous shonen franchise chronicles the exploits of Kurosaki Ichigo, a 15-year-old as he is transformed into a Shinigami, or Death God, after some strange events to fight the Hollow Menace. Obviously, like any long-running series, it has a lot more to it than that, but that's how it initially starts out, and it makes for a great backdrop of action with plenty of blood, amazing fight scenes, over-the-top characters, and bombastic attacks.
お前の妙な術のおかげでてめえ命の恩人の術
黒崎一護 VS まだらめ一角
But onto this game specifically. Bleach Tasagare ni Mamieru Shinigami, or roughly Bleach Death God's Meeting in the Twilight, was a 2005 one-on-one fighting game released for the GameCube. It starts partway through the Soul Society arc, one of the most popular but early enough to jump into arcs of the story. As a fighting game, it is quite basic, using a similar system to the Soul Calibur franchise with horizontal and vertical attacks with your weapons. A lot of the characters use swords, but there are a few that differ, such as Sado, who uses a powered-up fist, and Orihime, who has magical fairy-like beasts contained in her earrings. The action is quite slow, with attacks not being especially fast, and a very simple hit the enemy to power up your bar and then unleash a special gameplay. The specials range from a simple multi-hit jobby to a stop the action, here's an animated still with loads of yelling, screen exploding super attack. You know the kind. These will excite fans of the franchise, but fighting game experts might find the overall experience quite sedate.
尋常に勝
The story mode appears to use the same voice actors as the anime, if not lifted direct audio, and is displayed as animation stills between each fight. Most of the main fights are done, and you will control several characters, even if you are playing a specific chapter. There are 3 main scenarios, with just one available to start with and the other 2 unlocked as you go.
行くぞ挽回北上天元妙
There are plenty of modes on offer, with one-on-one, survival, versus, story modes. You know, the works. The character roster is quite decently sized, with a fair few unlockable characters via playing story mode or passwords, as well as 11 stages from iconic locations during this particular arc of the story. Overall, Bleach isn't a bad game, but it's nothing outstanding and will appeal more to fans of the franchise like myself. It also only came out in Japan, and no translated version exists at this time.
しっかり見てけよこいつが俺の挽回だ天差残月そら
Widely considered to be one of Sega's best games on the GameCube, F-Zero GX was Nintendo handing the reins to our favourite developer, and not only did they do a good job with the franchise, they made quite possibly the best F-Zero game of all time. There was also an arcade version of the game made, F-Zero AX. So for the uninitiated, F-Zero is a racing franchise set in the future which started with F-Zero on the Super Famicom and Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Several characters race in their futuristic hover vehicles at high velocity around several tracks. A sequel also dropped on the Nintendo 64 in F-Zero X. The game uses the power of that generation and is one of the fastest games in terms of its sheer speed. There are several courses set in different locations. Not that you'll have any time to admire the scenery, as you're zipping around avoiding other racers trying to bash into you and fighting against the course itself with its sharp turns and incoming hazards. Fortunately, you have shields to assist with taking damage that you can replenish once a lap. There's a story mode on offer, but it takes an odd turn, having to use points to unlock each part of the story. This hinders the flow of the story, unless you ignore it until you've saved up lots of points. The other problem is the points are also used to buy new vehicles, attachments, and other things for the game, so they really are your biggest resource. main modes are, of course, Grand Prix, with 5 races in each of the 4 cups and the arcade tracks also unlockable, Versus mode, which goes from 2 to 4 players, Time Attack, and a customization mode where you can create your vehicle, among other things. The game has plenty of modes and things to do, so you'll be set for quite some time unlocking everything and having fun. Therein lies the only main issue with the game. The difficulty is high, the races are very fast, with so little time to react, and some of the design choices, particularly the aforementioned story chapter unlocking, don't help with what could be the perfect racing game. As it stands, F-Zero GX is a fantastic game, let down by a couple of small bits, and is incredibly worthy of being on your shelf. As of this video, it has been added to the GameCube section on the Switch 2 online service as well, so you have more opportunity to give it a try. Our final game is perhaps one of the most quirky. Virtua Quest is a spin-off from Sega's Virtua Fighter series and released for both the GameCube and PlayStation 2 in Japan and NTSCU only. This isn't a full fighting game, but is an action-adventure fighting hybrid. You take on the role of Sei in a world where people spend their free time in a virtual reality universe. As per usual with any VR set media franchise, Sei gets stuck, unable to log out, and goes on a spiral of events with him meeting multiple characters, including the Virtua Fighter crew.
See, I told you so. Security always comes when you hang around too long. That robot's probably a protector.
Hayami, it's coming after me. What should I do?
You know that hunter's glove on your right hand? It isn't just for show. It's got martial arts programs installed on it. Press the A button to attack. Give it a try.
As of the release of this game, Virtua Fighter 4 was out, so all the cast from that game show up in this game, even down to the omission of Taka Arashi, who was removed from Virtua Fighter 4 for various reasons. The characters appear as data of the fighters taken from the Virtua Fighter tournaments that happened in the past, and after a fight with that particular character, they will teach you a move to place in one of several slots, generally taking the place of the X button with or without another input. And all the moves have star ratings. It's fun getting to fight the character with their tune playing, although so far it's been Virtua Fighter 2 music for each fight, but that may change later. Battling takes place as a 3D arena style brawler, a la Yakuza series, rather than one-on-one like Virtua Fighter itself. The controls are a bit simplistic and it doesn't handle amazingly, but the enemies aren't too problematic either. The only issue is blocking seems a bit pointless, as you can't do it fast enough after attacking, and just holding it means enemies will just wait a while before attacking. There are boss characters who all have their set patterns that are easy to work around, but the combat doesn't improve until you have some Virtua Souls in your roster.
Huh. Are you the one who seeks power?
Playing this will put you in the mind of two things. Sega obviously wanted to ride the wave of media franchises where you play an online game but offline, like the .hack series, and the fact it feels like all the Virtua Fighter and Shenmue before it was being culminated in this game as a test for an online Virtua Fighter RPG proper. Albeit this doesn't feel like it's significantly good enough to have materialised that effort at all. You will notice a lot of similarities to Phantasy Star Online as well. The sci-fi feel and small hub world with a shop and teleporter and kiosks for the ladies who do all the work. There's a floating minion called Bit who has stats of its own and you can feed it. Reminds me of the mag system from Phantasy Star Online. And if it didn't before, it will when I tell you that feeding it can change its form and the game tracks all these forms. They all perform slightly different information functions, such as giving you information on items or hints about enemies. I turned Bit into a bear, and of course he had to take the mixed SEGA style and just shout "bare knuckle" whilst I was fighting in the jungle. With the stage structure and repeat loot to get data bits to turn in for upgrades, it feels like this is a mashup of Virtua Fighter and Phantasy Star Online in one. All in all, while not very well regarded at the time, Virtua Quest isn't that bad of a game. It's fun enough to play, it has a silly naff plot, the music's pretty good, and getting to fight the Virtua Fighter cast is a nice touch. It's just a shame it has long gaps between saves, as sometimes the enemies can be a bit cheap and block loads and hit you when you can't, but certainly an enjoyable title that's worth giving a punt. there we go. 6 more Sega games for the GameCube. A little less well known overall, probably due to the lack of worldwide release for some of them. I hope you enjoyed the video. Did you see anything you liked? Is there anything you're going to try out? Let me know in the comments below. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video.